For decades, Indian criminal courts faced a recurring evidentiary dilemma. When a woman was manipulated into a sexual relationship through lies, prosecutors had to fit the crime into the framework of Section 375 of the Indian Penal Code, the statute for forcible rape. This harm stems from intimacy obtained through a premeditated lie. It is a violation of trust that the previous legal code struggled to categorize accurately. Section 375 of the colonial-era IPC was designed to address lack of consent through force. It could not easily isolate fraud without labeling the accused a rapist, which carried the same mandatory minimum sentences as violent assault. In 2023, the legislature enacted the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, replacing the IPC and introducing a specific mechanism to resolve this tension. Section 69 of the BNS explicitly criminalizes sexual intercourse obtained by deceitful means or by a false promise of marriage. Section 69 decouples deception from force. This means the court's analysis focuses on proving the accused's intent at the exact start of the relationship. Section 69 prescribes a penalty of imprisonment extending up to 10 years, alongside a fine. This maximum sentence is lower than the punishments mandated for forcible rape under Section 64, establishing a separate category of offense. The statutory text reinforces this distinction by defining the crime as sexual intercourse not amounting to the offense of rape. By codifying this phrase, the law creates a specific legal track focusing on deceptive conduct rather than physical assault. The offense remains cognizable and non-bailable. Indian criminal law now treats these acts as a violation of trust and consent, distinguishing them from the legal definition of physical assault. A prosecution under Section 69 is technical. The state must simultaneously prove 4 criteria. First, physical sexual intercourse must be proven to have occurred. Second, the prosecution must show the victim's consent was induced exclusively through a false promise. Third, the act must not meet the threshold for forcible rape defined elsewhere in the BNS. The fourth pillar represents the final requirement, ab initio intent. Ab initio means from the beginning. The accused must have harbored dishonest intent at the exact moment the promise was made. This differentiates a criminal false promise from a civil breach of promise. If a relationship begins with honest intentions, but later fails due to family pressure or incompatibility, it generally does not attract criminal liability. A Section 69 case relies on the prosecution's ability to reconstruct the accused's state of mind at the inception of the relationship. The February 2026 ruling in Vipin Kumar v. State of UP illustrates how courts apply this threshold. The Allahabad High Court used this case to clarify how judges should evaluate claims of deceit in long-term relationships. The record shows the accused and the victim met through a social media app in 2018. This led to a multi-year relationship allegedly based on a promise of marriage, involving multiple pregnancies and subsequent abortions. In 2024, after a hotel encounter and a 5th pregnancy, the victim filed a first information report. The defense argued the relationship was consensual and claimed the victim was aware the accused was already married. This forced the court to decide, was this a multi-year relationship that simply failed, or a calculated deception that existed since 2018? The defense relied on past Supreme Court rulings like Uday v. State of Karnataka and Amol Bhagwan Nekal. In those cases, the courts protected accused persons when long-term relationships broke down and there was no evidence of initial deceit. The defense aligned the timeline with these precedents, arguing duration proved consent. However, the High Court dismissed the petition, pointing to one specific fact. The accused was legally married at the time he promised to marry the victim. An existing marriage makes it factually impossible to fulfill a new promise of marriage, satisfying the ab initio requirement. The court also cited other forensic indicators of deceit, such as the accused secretly filming intimate acts to use as blackmail. Facts that render a promise impossible at its start overrides a defense based on mutual participation. The statutory text shows that Section 69's jurisdiction reaches beyond romantic engagements. The explanation clause at the bottom of the statute clarifies the scope of deceitful conduct. Deceitful means explicitly includes inducements based on false promises of employment, promotion, or suppressing one's identity. This targets professional exploitation. If a supervisor extracts consent by promising a promotion they never intended to give, they are liable under Section 69. While some fear legal misuse, data shows that over 96% of high court petitions succeed when the prosecution lacks proof of initial deceit. The judiciary serves as a filter, distinguishing failed relationships from verified instances of fraud and the abuse of power. Section 69 moves the legal framework beyond the binary of rape versus absolute consent. There are now 3 distinct categories in Indian criminal law: consensual relations and consent obtained through fraud. Section 69 occupies this specific middle category, addressing a specific type of exploitation. The central challenge for the prosecution is now forensically reconstructing the accused's intent at the exact moment the promise was made. Courts prioritize objective evidence, like an existing marriage or a fabricated identity, over claims of mutual disappointment. Section 69 requires the justice system to differentiate a relationship that ended badly from a calculated extraction of consent.